You've done the work, you save for years, 20, 30 years in some cases. You've always been frugal. You've thought about what you would do when you retire, and you're standing on the edge and you just can't pull the trigger. Why is that? Why is it so hard? That's what this video is about. So often retirement videos are very focused on a specific area of the financial plan to get to retirement. That could be tax planning. That could be how to know if you have enough income in retirement. It could be things like making sure you understand the stages of retirement and how you would save in those stages. All those things are great, but they're primarily quantitative. Now, we all know that retirement is one of the biggest milestones that anyone will go through in their entire life. You can put it on par with marriage, divorce, having a child, moving, all of the biggest life events. It's one of the biggest stressors you have. Now, that doesn't make it bad. It just means that you need to prepare not only for what your number is, but you need to prepare personally. This is a behavioral decision. This is a psychological decision. This is an emotional decision. So today's video is going to give you strategies and help you understand the 5 things that you need to solve before you're ready to actually pull the trigger. And it probably will explain why you're having so much trouble. My name is Forrest Dutton. I am the owner of Brightworks Financial Planning. I do these videos for your personal education. They're not meant to be personal financial, investment, or tax advice. They're just to give you the most information that you can have so that you can retire with confidence. So let's get into this. I'm going to give you 5 things. I'll start with number 1. I'm going to call these the 5 P's. So number 1 is going to be the permission problem. So looking back at your work history, it doesn't matter where you worked. Maybe you started work at 18. Maybe you started before 18. The problem is you've been working your entire life. Many of you work for reasons that you probably haven't even sat down and thought about. Meaning, is it to take care of others? Is it to fulfill a need to be successful? What is the psychological need that work has provided for you? Because when you retire, you have to give yourself permission to stop working. If you find your identity solely in the job that you have, or maybe even the function that you are fulfilling in work, it will be very, very difficult to retire because you will essentially lose yourself. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to give yourself permission. So you've got to solve the permission problem. This is a community project. So I would encourage you, if you're struggling with the permission problem, to really get with a couple other people that know you well, could be friends or family, and really brainstorm and think about who you are, meaning what makes up your core identity, what matters to you, and how that interplays with your work. Now, that can be a very insightful conversation if you've never had it. So I would say the first thing is got to give yourself permission, because you are way more than your work, and life is way more than just that one function that you serve in your work. But you've got to dig a little bit deeper. What is it behind that work that really gives you fulfillment? That would be solving the permission problem. The second thing you've got to solve is the planning problem. Now, this may not be what you think it is. This doesn't mean I need you to do the work on the numbers. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming you've already done that. Some of you may have $1, $2, $3, $5 million, and you still don't know why you can't retire. It's this. Stop moving that number. So as we get older and we make more money and we see that we have a goal that's achievable, often what happens is people will say, I'll only retire if I get to 3 million. Then you get to 3 million, and then for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like it's enough. So you say, well, I'll retire when I get to 3.5 million. The number comes and goes. You're still sitting at your desk. So what you've got to do is, again, let go of the planning problem, meaning if it's already been solved that you have enough money, realize this is not a monetary problem anymore. This is something that you have to let go of, and sometimes people just continue to move the goalposts because it's easier. It feels better. It feels safer. So the second problem you have to solve is the planning problem. You're by nature probably a planner, and that's why you got here in the first place. But what you've got to do is say enough is enough. I am done with that, and I'm not going to continue to move the goalposts, because if you do, you'll find that you're missing out on the very life that you're trying to achieve in retirement. So that's the second problem. Now there's a third problem, and that is the purpose problem. This is very similar to problem number 1 about permission, but it's slightly different, and here's why. Even if you're someone that doesn't find that your identity is wrapped up in your work, if you don't find what you're retiring to, you will have a very difficult time entering that new phase of life. Meaning, I need you to brainstorm. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do with friends? How will you actually spend your days? And you may want to get as granular as you want here, but basically, we don't realize that throughout our adult life, the most time we spent with others is during our working week. More so than spouse, more so than family. So what you've got to do is you have to have a really powerful pull here to go to. Now, for some, this is volunteering. For some, this is a faith community. For others, this is going to be traveling and seeing things that they've never seen before, and that's going to take a good bit of time. But what I want to say is you have to actually really map this out, because if not, there will be a period of time where you're really figuring out, what do I actually do? And that's what creates people not being successful in retirement, and they end up going back to work because they just don't know how to fill their days. But that can easily be solved. So spend some time. Think about the purpose problem. How are your weeks going to be structured? If you're married, talk to your spouse. Number 4, the psychological problem. Now, this is not the same as the permission problem. If you're watching this video, it means you are a saver. Again, this video is not really about the money and the analysis. It's about the psychology behind retirement. So when it comes to the psychological problem, it is simply this. You have to flip the switch from being a saver to being a spender. It's a non-negotiable of retirement. You've got to get comfortable with it. And this might be one of the most underrated things that happen when you retire that you don't see coming. Here's one practical tip on this one. If you want to solve the psychological problem, simply start spending a certain percentage of what you're making. Because when it comes to retirement, the biggest jolt is often before you retire, you're probably making more money than you've ever made in your entire adult life. And even saving what you're saving, you probably don't spend 80 to 90% of it. But in retirement, that's really what you're designed to do. So you've got to figure out a way to practice that and really come to terms and come to grips with that, because that is very, very difficult and very, very underrated. Now, here's the last one. You've got to solve the people problem. So this is integrated with a few of the other problems I've mentioned, but it's not exactly the same. Meaning, retirement is not just something you do so that you can go be isolated and be by yourself. Most people have relationship goals in retirement. Who do you want to connect with? Who do you want to spend time with? If you're older and you have a spouse and you have kids, that might be kids. It might be grandkids. It might be an aging parent in your life. So thinking through the people problem, who are going to be your people? You cannot do retirement alone. So I highly advise you really sit around and think about, who is my community and who will my community be in retirement? So those are my 5 P's. If you can solve those and you already know that the number in the spreadsheet has a good number for you, then I would say that is time to retire. You have covered all your bases. The only thing left to do is enjoy. What things would you like to see, and what things do you think I left out? Are there any things that you're struggling with thinking about retirement that I didn't name in this video? I'd love to know it. So please comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.